Today we are going to talk about the human eye. The eye is one of the most complex organs in the human body, and we are going to discuss the structure, how it functions, disorders, and then we will take a look of how laser eye surgery works. So for the visible part of the eye, we have the iris right here, and then there would be eyelids, and stop. The outer visible part of the eye consists of the iris, which is the colored part of your eye, the black dot in the middle, which would be the pupil, and the sclera, which is the white part. In addition, you would have eyelids that can open and close that protect the eye, and also eyebrows and eyelashes that prevent sweat and other debris from entering the eye. The cornea is the transparent layer that covers the iris and the pupil, and because it is transparent, it doesn't have blood vessels which allow oxygen to cover the eye. So tears, which have dissolved oxygen, are able to give the cornea its needed dose of oxygen. Also, the most important function of the cornea is to refract light and allow the eye to focus. The iris, which is the colored part of the eye, consists of two different layers. The front pigmented fibrovascular section is known as the stroma, and beneath the stroma are pigmented epithelial cells. The stroma connects to your visitor muscles, as well as the muscles that dilate or pull the pupil open. The pupil is the hole in the center of your iris that allows light to go through it and strike the retina. The reason it appears black is because it absorbs all visible light. The sclera is the white fibrous protective layer that contains mainly collagen. Making up 5/6 of the connective tissue of the globe, the sclera is important in maintaining the shape of the eye. Behind the iris and the pupil is the lens. This transparent biconvex structure helps refract light to the retina. By changing shape, the lens is able to control a person's focal distance. While the cornea consists of 2/3 of the eye's refractive power, the lens represents the remaining 1/3. The vitreous humor is the clear gel that fills the space between the lens and retina. This clear gel makes up 80% of the volume of the eye, and it is more fluid-like in the center and more gelatinous towards the edges of the eye. The retina is the third and inner coat of the eye, which is a light-sensitive layer of tissue towards the back of the eye. This is the most important part of the eye because it is responsible for creating images. Light that strikes the retina initiates a cascade of chemical and electrical events that eventually trigger nerve impulses. Then these impulses go to the optic nerve. The optic nerve is also known as the second cranial nerve, and it transmits visual information from the retina to the brain. It consists of retinal ganglion cells and glial cells. These fiber tracts are incapable of regeneration, thus if they're damaged, they will never be repaired. And lastly, you have the superior, inferior, lateral, and medial rectus muscles, and the superior and inferior oblique muscles that surround the inside of the eye and allow it to move. Tiring of these muscles can result in eye strain.
Okay, so now we're going to be talking about how the eye works and how we see. So first, the cornea lets in light, and this causes the iris to either enlarge or decrease the size of the pupil, and then the pupil will allow light to travel into the eye itself and reach the lens. Okay, so then the lens focuses light and projects it onto the retina. And then the retina is filled with millions of photoreceptors, being mainly rods and cones. And then the photoreceptors themselves are responsible for converting light energy into electrical impulses that will be sent to the brain, and then the brain will process them. Okay, so the two layers of the retina contain two types of neurons, ganglion and bipolar. And with the photoreceptors, these combine to create a kind of a pathway for light to travel through and create these impulses that will be sent to the brain. The bipolar neurons have two synapses on either sides that connect to the photoreceptors and the ganglion neurons, and so the light will travel from the photoreceptors, bipolar neurons, to the ganglion neurons, which make up the optic nerve. Okay, so the ganglion neuron, which, like I said, make up the optic nerve, creates action potentials once they receive the impulse from the bipolar neurons, and then transmit this visual information from the eye to the brain. So once the optic nerve receives and makes the impulse, it carries the impulse into the brain, to the thalamus, and ultimately to the brain's visual cortex, where everything is processed and the impulse is converted into like the objects and things that we see.
So now let's talk about disorders and issues that can happen with the eye. Now, nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism are three of the most common types of disorders. Nearsightedness typically occurs when the curve of the cornea is too steep. This causes light to focus in front of rather than on the retina, making objects in the distance appear blurry. On the other hand, farsightedness can occur when the cornea is too flat or the eye is too short. Essentially, when that happens, it prevents light from being able to focus on the retina, resulting in blurry close vision. Astigmatism is an imperfection of the cornea, preventing part of it from focusing light onto the retina. The result is a blurred area within the otherwise clear image. This problem may occur along with either myopia or hyperopia. These frequent conditions are termed refractive errors. Cataracts are another type of disorder that is more common among more elderly people. A cataract is a painless, cloudy area in the lens of the eye that blocks the passage of light into the retina. The retina is a nerve layer at the back of the eye. The nerve cells in the retina detect light entering the eye and send nerve signals to the brain about what the eye sees. Because cataracts block this light, they can cause vision problems. Now let's talk about how LASIK eye surgery works and how it improves vision. So to conduct the surgery, a device called a macrotome is used to create a small, thin flap in the skin of the cornea, about 1/10 of a millimeter thick. The surgeon then lifts this corneal flap back on a hinge and uses the laser to sculpt the bed of the cornea, fixing any irregularity present. It can flatten the cornea to correct short-sightedness or make it steeper for long-sightedness, and create better symmetry to correct astigmatism. When the surgeon puts the corneal flap back, the eye takes on this new shape, just like how a camera accepts an upgraded lens. So today we talked about the structure of a human eye, how it functions, disorders, and how laser surgery works. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video.